Welcome. Great to have you here for Bitcoin Design Guide Jam session number 64. Let's see. As usual, I put together our notes document with just a handful of things to talk about. Here you go. Feel free to add notes. The only things I put on here was that the join page is live. I think that's pretty much the only thing in the last couple of weeks that went live. But let's take a look. Yeah, some stuff on the counter page. That's it. Did you have anything else other than what you see on here to talk about? So in progress, Michael, you have some stuff in progress, right?
Yeah,
Exactly. I just wanted to say that I didn't. I created a branch for the inheritance wallet reference design. It's going to be kind of a bigger one that might go into multiple PRs. But I didn't. I just noticed I didn't create an issue on the on GitHub yet for it. So
Okay.
I'll create that.
Okay. So let's just add stuff to the list for everything we want to talk about. Is there anything else?
I'm adding now as we speak.
Okay. Cool. All good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Let's dig in. With the join page, I just wanted to say something real quick. It's live, and I went to, there's this website, opensourcedesign.net, from which Mo and I know some people now through FOSDEM and FOSS Backstage. And here in the forum, I went to the design lounge earlier today, and I posted about this page and asked for feedback, so we can get some designer feedback from open source designers.
That's a good one.
We'll see. 9 views here, probably mostly me, just checking the page. So we'll see what comes back there. Next one. This is super quick. Paulo published his research study, which is super long. This one here. It's a good read. I would definitely recommend checking it out. I think there's more stuff we can do we can link to it from multiple different places in the guide. For example, he actually references the design guide and the UI kit in a couple places. We could cross-link back. Some of his research could be linked to, like, if we talk about something specific, it's like, as something to back up or provide more information. But I did not do that. I only did the simple task of adding it to the design research page, which lists research. That's it. That's all it does. And I feel like there must be some more stuff. We didn't add anything from 2023, so I feel like we could dig around a little bit as a separate task to.
Sorry, first off, go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like there's some more stuff here that we should review this page here, but because there might be more useful research that we just haven't listed yet.
I have a list somewhere. I need to find it. I have a list of some research that has come up in the community in the research channel that I felt would be good to add to the guide. I just need to find that list. It's just like 3 or 4 links, but I will find it.
Yeah, excellent. It doesn't have to be huge amounts, but I think all of these links together should then provide lots of background
Yep.
there. Yeah,
I will look it up. Yeah.
and yeah, maybe Paolo also wants to do a talk on his thing or so, but we'll leave that up to him a bit to figure out what the next steps are with his project. By the way, I do feel like he's looking for feedback. If anyone has feedback for him, then human readable addresses. I don't have anything to show, but I'm basically trying to turn this document here from that long conversation into a guide page for which it needs to be restructured. So I've been working on this thing, but it needs more work. But I do hope that in the next few days I can get it as a PR in the guide. Did you have any questions on this one? I know, Mo, you already read through it last Friday.
Yeah, I'll allow Michael to ask any questions. I mean, to me, it read quite well. I mean, it's clear that you're kind of in the Lego stage at the moment. You have these bits of content, and then you're just Legoing them together. But I mean, so far the Lego pieces are quite solid. So, I mean, I can have another read through once you can just ping me once you've done another review, and I can look again.
Yeah, I do feel like moving it to a pull request where it's HTML and it feels more final will be a good next phase for this thing. Cool. So that was that. Then we have Michael's stuff. What's your stuff? Please take over.
I'm muted. Yeah, so I closed the GitHub, of course, and terminal, so I don't have my branch open for the inheritance wallet that I'm working on. But basically what I did is kind of structure out a page, or maybe I can still get it open afterwards. But I did kind of divide it. Currently, I have one big Google Doc where like everything is on one page, and I took a step back from that, divided it into a couple of, let's say, chapters. They're also called chapters in the Google Doc for now, and kind of started moving the content over into that branch. And yeah, now I'm kind of going through one by one to do actual kind of design work on it. I can link it here, the Google Doc. I can link it here. The other thing that I was doing, or I was writing a bit back and forth with Nick from FrostSnap, is discussing kind of the couple of use cases that would be cool, or kind of sufficiently different from script multisig that we could do with Frost, like key rotation and these kinds of things. But he's been traveling in Asia, I think, for about 2 weeks. So it was kind of very loose, the conversation. But the idea would be to take three of them, 3 cases, and I can maybe post them here as well in the Google Doc. We have it in email. We said these 3 would probably be cool use cases, and I'd probably put them on the GitHub issue to see what other people think, so that we could say, okay, let's use these 3, and then get started with it. We should have a call this week, maybe next week, about it. So happy to kind of open it up for everyone. Yeah, that's that for now.
Mm-hmm. Do you want any feedback? Is there like anything that anyone could do to help you, or speed things up, or slow things down, or cross-examine you or anything?
Not at the moment. Now it's like I think input on the topics or the use cases for Frost could be a good thing, because obviously there are some things that I find interesting or that Nick finds interesting, but maybe there are others. So I think that would be uh, cool. And maybe in the next design guide jam session, maybe go through the my branch of the for the inheritance wallet to kind of see if the structure makes sense. And I'm still not sure about how to actually, go about publishing it, because it's going to be a lot of content. And the idea, or yeah, what the approach could be, whether kind of publishing it all at once or just have kind of an intro page where at the beginning where I introduce the topic and maybe one of the sub chapters, and then gradually releasing things. So that would be something good to discuss or to get some feedback on.
What is your concern or consideration there? Is it about not waiting too long and then releasing everything at once, or are you worried that maybe by waiting too long something will be off and it's harder to change it? What's your concern or the consideration for going one way or the other?
Well, putting everything into one huge release means there's a lot of stuff to check so there's a much more review work that it's going to be needed. It's a much bigger scale thing, as opposed to when it's kind of chunked. Then it's kind of probably easier to kind of control the scope of it and testing. But the downside of that is that I also don't want to release something and then it would need to have a certain cadence of releases afterwards for the other PRs. But then again, if I can get chapter by chapter out of my head, then it might speed up the other ones. So these are I'd probably be more in favor of let's say have a publish the intro page and the onboarding page, and kind of then working through the other pieces of content so that it's kind of more manageable.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, makes sense.
YOLO, publish all.
Do you want us to give you some feedback on the introduction and the onboarding once you have it live, or?
Yeah, I would probably do. Could also do another reading session for them, but we'll have to see how much there is actually to read. We also want to keep it kind of manageable for these reading sessions, right? Ideally, like 1 hour sessions, but I think that could work. It could be a good thing to kind of keep this going.
Yeah. I would. We had this with the daily spinning wallet at some point too. There was on the landing page a disclaimer that said this section is under construction. Things will change, and then so you don't feel pressure like you have to get everything perfect. You can't revisit it or so. Like sometimes it's better to just have to move uncomfortably fast. not that you're totally freaking out, but you're like things are not perfect, but you're still putting them out there, and then just keep iterating. So you can get that, you can have things public and get feedback and have discussions, and you keep a good pace going. Totally your call. but that would make sense to me. Publish the homepage with a disclaimer, things are changing, and the onboarding. And I think then in review, everyone also will have the understanding that, for us just seeing the intro and onboarding, we're going to miss parts, right, that you have already thought about. So we also have to keep that in mind when we give feedback, that we may not see the whole picture yet because that part's not published. So yep, that makes sense to me.
Cool. Yeah, I my goal would be to kind of finish most of it by, let's say, end of April. Because also it's one of the bigger pieces of my grant as well. So it's going to be probably also helpful in other parts, right? We have this open issue about wallet descriptors. So my goal would be to also take part of the work and put it on there because it's relevant. So then kind of publish this reference design first, and then kind of work with the smaller work or items for, let's say, until BTC Prague or somewhere where I think my grant runs out in June. I'm also gonna need to to find a topic for continuing it.
So here you go. Yeah, end of April is 7 weeks. Here's week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can just map things against that, and we could potentially put calls already in the calendar, weekly review calls or whatever it is, or kind of have a rolling release one. So while one is out for review, you're already working on the next one. I don't know how many pages you have, but I mean, nothing speaks against just coming up with the rhythm for making this happen in a smooth way that works for you, and also leaves, let's say, everything should be up for at least 1 week of review. We can then also, all the reviewers can plan in to set aside a little bit of time for helping keep things moving. If that helps you.
Yeah,
if you prefer total chaos, also cool.
No, I think it's at a point where basically I have the iceberg in mind, and I just kind of need to hack it apart. And so that might be a good idea. I'm gonna do, the sun is shining here today, so I'm gonna do that planning this afternoon on the terrace.
Okay.
That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah. So that was it. And the frost thing is something that I would just keep adding to the issue, to the GitHub issue that we have, so that it's out there in the open.
Yep, sounds good. I guess I already bugged the two of you about weeks earlier this morning. There are 9 weeks until the accessibility day and 13 weeks until BTC Prague.
Yeah.
All the planning stuff.
Yeah, I feel, do we have a planning document together? I know this is not guide related, but do we have something together for Accessibility Day, or shall we just kick something off? I know there's a GitHub issue.
No, we could just put that in. I think Accessibility Day is a little bit easier. There's less to plan, I think, than for BTC Prague. Like for BTC Prague, we need to get speakers and have them agree, and they need to schedule their travel, and we need to buy stuff and talk to the hotel and other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still good to have that, because I have a bunch of, I still have 2 more conferences until then, 2 other ones, maybe 3 other ones. So it'll go by fast.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, Michael. No, go ahead, Mo.
Go ahead, Michael. No, I think you mentioned a good one is the speakers. I think the call for speakers is something that we can do like ASAP as well. Because if people need to book flights and decide they need to know on time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another discussion. But sorry, go ahead, Michael.
That was it for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm excited for it. Let's make all this stuff happen. Okay, Mo. you put two things in there.
I've had sort of two bits that I've been working on the last few weeks. They are both exactly at the same stage, meaning there's an initial draft that's been put together. Some people have, I'll share my screen here, like, for example, the open source UX research playbook. The goal would actually be to, I don't know, I guess we could add this to the get to know your user section of the guide. We could also maybe add this, I would also add this to the UX research toolkit. But this is just, I noticed that there was a trend, there was a series of steps that we've seemed to follow in all of the UX research calls that we've had in the community. And I just put this write-up together. Some people have commented. Sanjay's commented, Hades commented, but you'll notice that it cuts off at section 3 because this part still needs to be worked on here, which I'll work on this week. But I'd love some initial feedback on these steps and just structure. I feel like, just having a bit more eyes at this beginning stage can help to set the direction. So that's it. I mean, that's the playbook one. If anyone has any questions, yeah, feel free to ask.
I think a good thing to clarify at the very top would be, at which point does somebody use this playbook?
Yeah.
What's the situation
Good
they're
one.
in? What is their life problem that they're trying to? It sounds like my impression is, let's say I'm starting a project, I'm working on a project, I've heard about this UX research thing. I generally know that, people do interviews and things like that, but I don't know exactly how to go about it. So this would be
Mm-hmm.
my step-by-step guide that talks me through what I need to do,
Yeah.
and then from that I can kind of put my own plan together, and I'll be able to be ready to go and feel
Exactly.
comfortable about performing this UX research project with whatever I'm
Yeah.
working on.
It's like, imagine if someone in the community decided to come in as a volunteer and they want to help Project X kick off a research sprint, then they would actually be able to follow this document step by step. And they'd be able to basically kick off the research sprint from the beginning, like asking the question, what's the project about? Just those initial calls. How did the project start? In eventually to reaching consensus with the team in terms of what problem they want to solve. So it's kind of like a guidebook if a team wants to kick off a project, and then ideally it would lead very smoothly into the UX research toolkit. So at some point, I do mention this bit here of the UX research toolkit here. And then that all those questions come from the toolkit. So this kind of, consult with the UX research toolkit on the method to use. So the toolkit comes in here in step number 2. So they've had this initial call, they're reaching consensus, and then they're using the UX research toolkit, and then they're running with the sprint, they're executing, they're analyzing the research, and then they're sharing the research. So I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
No, makes total sense. I guess my tip would be to keep it very practical.
Yeah. 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 I'd love some feedback because I feel like I'm quite knee deep into this topic. So, just to hear from other people, just general overview, direction. As I said, it's halfway through, but I'll work on these bits the rest of the week. So yeah, that's
We were talking about Summer of Bitcoin projects.
Mm-hmm.
If there are some projects that do research, they should try to use this give feedback.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Also, with any other hackathons that are happening, see if you could find users for this and document their journeys.
That is a good one. If I can sort of have this wrapped up, maybe this could even become something. It could become an additional layer as a green poll flag at the beginning of the UX research toolkit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
that would make a lot of sense that this becomes a green starting flag. Yeah, because it leads into it. So yeah, that's a good one.
Are you considering the difference between newcomers to UX research versus more experienced researchers in this?
Yes. Maybe that's a different call, but I'm going to need to build the UX. At the moment, the UX research toolkit is built in Framer. Framer has, I don't know if I'm going to be able to build in all of the requests that people have asked for now that they've used the kit. One of the biggest requests was we need a search box. I've played around a bit with the search box within Framer. It looks a bit clunky. I guess the only thing I can do is just add it in and see what happens, and test it out. But one of the biggest things that the experienced like a seasoned UX designer is like, well, I know which research methodology I want to use. I'm just going to look it up and just like, I just want to look up the page. I don't need to ask myself any questions. And they want downloadable PDFs or something that's just, downloadable. They expect to see that in the toolkit. So I think for me, I'm at the point where I need to decide, I need to try to implement search functionality into the toolkit.
Mhm.
And if I'm not able to do that, then I'm going to have to think about where it should be built and maybe just move the content over somewhere else. Yeah, something I'm going to have to figure out over the next week or so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what people search for. Sometimes that tells you how your navigation can be improved, or just content that people want that doesn't exist, and other things. Or
Yeah,
even
I've seen
terms for, sometimes people look for something and it exists, but they use a different word for it. And so they don't find it.
exactly. If we could, I mean, it's not like if they're using a wallet or something and we're tracking their data. So, I mean,
Mm.
if there was some basic tracking on the website, but then I would have to build the website or find like a no code tool that would help me to build it, or just learn some basic JavaScript. So I'm just at that point now in terms of the toolkit. I think it will outgrow Framer. So that's my impression.
Mm. Is there an issue or so somewhere where you track all of this process and your work on the research toolkit?
This is a very good one. I will actually create an issue in the Meta repo after this. That's a good one. Because there's been some feedback that's sort of scattered all over the place. If I could just create one issue in the Meta repo and just say UX Research Toolkit, feedback received so far, ideas on future iterations.
Mhm.
That's a good one because everything's scattered at the moment. There's some feedback in the research in Discord. There's some initial feedback that was collected just through the form on the website itself. Yeah, that's a good one. And I've been doing sort of lots of scattered work around it that I've not put in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Ask Pav to come in and PM for you.
I think the thing that I'm finding the most interesting is one thing that we spoke about at the conference is possibly learning a coding language, which I think would be super cool to learn.
Yeah.
But at the other side, it's like, if that's going to be such a huge learning curve to be able to just, push this live, then is that even really worth it? Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see.
It must be possible with Framer. I'd be really surprised if there were no options there. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the update. Did you have anything else, or anyone else have questions for Mo, or would you like to help Mo in the project?
Maybe there's a Framer plugin that creates an ebook out of that would, I mean, since people ask for PDFs,
yeah.
I mean, they could just create screenshots, but it's because you're I don't know if it's the content is kind of structured in a way that would make sense for a book, but if there is some way to kind of create ebooks of it, then I mean, why not?
It seems very old school. Is it that people want the content to be in a PDF format or a book or whatnot, or is it that there are, let's say, surveys and some sheets that you doing a field study you show to people, and is it that type of material that they want in
Yeah.
a downloadable
So it's
format?
like, if you would be kicking off a usability test in a project, then you would have like the project kickoff document with a strategy why you're doing it, what you're aiming to achieve, and then next to that you'd have the script. So essentially, you're going to have two documents with that, and then
Okay.
maybe like a third, a GitHub repo where you're just organizing everyone's tasks. So there is always like maybe at least two, minimum of two documents for every single. Um, Research sprint, one being a Figma and the other being the project plan document.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, all these practical resources for people to use while they're doing the research.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Like, I mean, one of the comments was also the links were not that visible. It was like, hey, here's a link to a Figma file, but then it's just a link, it's just underlined and then the text colors in orange. But then one of the feedback was like, why didn't you put it as an image that it's really clear? Like, this is an actual resource. Like, this is not, the link kind of downplays the resource. So yeah, that was one of the comments.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you can just show what this cool thing is that you're gonna get. Yeah.
And then the Bitcoin Core App case study. This is another one that's also, I wouldn't say it's not as spaghetti as the other one. This is a little bit further along because this is now moving into like showcasing the designs. But this is also something that I started off a while back, and I feel like, yeah, you see 1st of February, and it is now the 11th of March. So this is something else that I'd like to move forward as well. It's just, I'm trying to tell a story, trying to create a case study, keep it as human as possible and keep the language as easy to understand. But this project has a very, a strong philosophical like thing behind it. So I just want to make sure that I tell the story in a way that's true. So any feedback on this would also be appreciated. I think, Christoph, you've already looked at it and given some initial feedback. And I think I iterated based on that.
Yeah. No, not really. I need to spend a bunch more time on it because it's such a unique thing. So on one hand, we have this full design document so we don't really need to showcase all the designs here because we have this extensive design document.
Yeah.
But then again, it is a very unique project because it's it's part of, it will be probably part of Bitcoin Core, and it builds on basically one of the very first Bitcoin wallets in existence, and tries to improve on that, and with a very long-term outlook. So I think there's a lot of stuff that can be said there, and that's why for me, giving feedback is not just like reading it and fixing it, pointing out a typo or if a sentence is easy to understand. It's a bit bigger than that.
Yeah, and that's what it needs actually, because this might be a little bit too granular based on there's a lot more behind it. So that's really what it needs. It needs sort of a bit of that historical injection, I think, as well.
Maybe at the top, instead of going straight into the contents of the page, maybe there can be editor's notes or so, the approach to writing this page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the approach taken, I think the approach is just very factual. It's not very, yeah. Yeah. It's just describing a process of what happened.
It's also a very unique project in terms of, like Christoph mentioned, the significance of it, and also which means it's probably also unique in the kind of the challenges or the magnitude of challenges that arise.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could maybe also go into these editor's notes, or kind of like a primer on that.
Yeah.
And something else interesting is too how things have evolved. It was just a handful of people, and it's
Mm-hmm.
grown to a much bigger group these days.
Yeah, that might be something, just like an opening introduction, something. I don't know if introduction is a nice word, but something along the lines of, how it started. I think you described it to me once in chat, Christoph.
And
How it started, who came together, yeah,
yeah,
that kind of thing. Hmm. Where, yeah, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I will continue working on. Um, I know, Christoph, you don't have much time to give feedback, but if anyone on this call um, has time to just jump into either of those documents and provide some feedback, it would be really useful. I'll appreciate it. Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, this feels like a big one.
It's a big one, yeah, and it's when I started writing it, I didn't really realize how much it is, but it is, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think, but finding the right angle is sometimes half the battle, and then
yeah.
much easier to write.
I think I've kept it very factual, like keeping any sort of opinions or feelings or anything out of it. It's very flat. It's like, this is what we did. That's how we did that. That's how we did that. But maybe it could have, that's the current angle, but that can change, depending on the feedback that comes in.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, feel free to comment.
Cool. Any more thoughts on this one?
No, I'll go through it on my terrace after the planning. I added post-its.
Okay,
Sounds good.
the other two side topics that I mean, otherwise I don't feel like there's much going on in the guide. Um, the there's still all these open topics. Like we have so much stuff potentially to do afterwards, but it might just make sense to focus on the things that we have out there right now, just to wrap them up and then move on to the next. Michael, you have your next 2 months basically laid out with a lot of work. Mo, you have these two larger documents that you're working through.
Yeah.
I'll try to get the human readable addresses out, and then I was thinking afterwards, based on how time permits, potentially start this multi-currency, multi-network stuff that both Kale brought up around Cashew and that Stick brought up as well. But yeah, I'll be quite busy with conferences, so I'll have to see. But yeah, I need to pick up something else afterwards. I always have to have something going on like this.
Well, maybe Eric would be willing, okay, or happy to help as well. I think he might be a good candidate.
Yeah, he's already working on this stuff totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of it. And then the poll in general. Mo, by the way, should we vote on that too?
I was considering not to vote on it. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. What do you think, Christoph?
I don't know if we should talk about this because it's being recorded. Anyways,
Yeah,
but
this is, yeah.
Michael, so Loic, Tanishka, and Uti, we have a poll in general right now. So
Hmm.
the Nexo.com marketing team basically approached the foundation about this campaign around trying to get a Bitcoin emoji adopted. And in order to do that, they want to create a change.org campaign where it's like a website. You can create campaigns and then you collect signatures. And if you have a lot of signatures, then whoever you want to like ask someone to do whatever you want them to do, you can basically say, well, there's 1 million people who want this, right? you should do this. So the idea here is to collect 1 million+ signatures and get a Bitcoin emoji done via the Unicode Foundation. So the question is just, I mean, should the Bitcoin design community logo go on these marketing materials or not? Do you think it's cool? Do you think it's not cool? I don't
There's the
know.
link. Yeah.
And then in the general channel, we're just asking that because they ask the foundation, but the foundation is not an entity that should decide anything like that or even make represent anything. It's just a very simple entity. And then the community, really, everyone in the community should be able to chip in and say what they think about it. And everyone's for it, then cool, let's do it. Yeah.
Personally, I don't really feel like going into that marketing thing, but it depends on the people. Kind of like if there are like really genuine and decent people, then they might do it in a very cool way. But if that doesn't turns out well, then it won't be actually cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I understand that's hard to tell from this one little poll that was posted, right? They're a very nice group of people. They're really trying to turn this into, they're talking to a lot of other organizations, companies, and trying to get them on board. At the same time, it still is a company, a crypto exchange that initializes this.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's what makes it tricky. I mean, they're going to announce this tomorrow, but that doesn't mean we have to feel pressured. Like, we can see what that announcement is like, and then people can
What
decide.
we can do is share the company link and the website link along with the poll link so that people can know about them and they can do it like by judging by themselves.
That's true. Yeah, I just shared the link here in the chat. I don't know much about them. I know that they're a general crypto exchange. Buy and earn interest.
Yeah, so I think so. I'm also torn on that, like I mentioned in on Discord, and I would probably wait till the campaign goes up to see actually also how it's kind of worded or how it's presented,
Mm-hmm.
and then I mean everyone can kind of sign on their own personally if they want. The main question is, should the community logo go on there? And probably we don't have that much information yet to decide on this probably. But yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah,
I'd probably wait.
Yeah, we also asked them like how much can we, because we wanted to make as much information possible as available for everyone to make a decision, but they're still putting things together. So we shared what they would allow us to share, basically, or what they felt comfortable with sharing. And yeah, so maybe those are all very good responses there.
Yeah. Feel free to comment on the thread. I sent the link. Comment if you feel like voting, then feel free to vote. But if you feel like you need more information, just comment with would like more information. I shared the link there in the where the voting is happening.
Yeah, I should have included the website link in the poll. I didn't even think of it. Maybe I can still edit that. Yeah, so that's that. Would love to get more input. And then the other thing was ideas for Summer of Bitcoin projects. Yeah, let's pull up the Summer of Bitcoin.
Tanishka, you were from last year, so it's great that you're on the call because you can give some feedback and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think projects are listed yet on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a date about 15th of March, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
After that, they will update it.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have any ideas for projects that you think would be great for students, um, we're also brainstorming. And that's it. That's it for our list of topics. Would you like to wrap up or keep chatting?
I'd like to fill in if anyone has any ideas around Summer of Bitcoin. Um, I know we have Tanishka on the call, we have Uti and Loic as well. Um,
I was I'm kind of not maybe allowed to talk
oh,
about it.
sorry, Uti, your audio is a little bit sketchy. I don't know if that's only on my side or if it's for everyone else as well.
I think
No, it's
probably
very hard to hear you.
I'm not allowed to comment. But probably currently,
No. Maybe you can type into the chat.
okay, let me try.
It's good you can hear us.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in
Sure.
the program.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Congratulations.
Guess you could say what you want to work on.
Yeah, what would you like to work on?
No,
What,
but
what?
he said, yeah, yeah, makes total sense.
Oh, I shouldn't comment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can just wrap it up then for today.
Yep. Sounds good.
And you use those 8 minutes separately to come up with project ideas. But yeah, it feels a little bit quiet around the guide right now. I think Michael has a ton of stuff bubbling, and I think that's going to keep us quite busy over the next couple months with a steady release of some new content.
Yeah, I hope so. For the first batch, I really hope to get out there in like until end of this month. So need to get this planning done. It never occurred to me I could make a plan. I used to do these things when I was, working in companies, but now that I'm kind of flying around, I these kind of muscles atrophied a bit. So it's like, hey, what a nice idea.
Nice. Yeah, go for it. Enjoy the afternoon sun and get your plan
Yeah. Enjoy,
going.
Michael.
Cool. I'm going to stop the recording then.
All right.
Thanks all for tuning in.